Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 280 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. Go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, on TikTok and other places where I have a large social media following, I often talk about the oath that we have taken as fraternity and sorority members. That oath has to stand for something. It has to mean something to us, like a commitment to academics or a commitment to community service or a commitment to just doing the right thing. If we don't take that oath seriously, then fraternity and sorority is ultimately going to become irrelevant, and our kids won't have the same opportunities that we've all been given. So let's collectively commit to do better, to hold our brothers and our sisters accountable to doing what they said they were going to do. Our next guest is Jeremy Kellem. He is the CEO and founder of a business called W.I.N, W.I.N, which stands for We Impact Now. Through the platform of W.I.N, he is committed to making a life-enriching and life-enhancing impact in the lives of those that they work with through life-enriching programs, keynote speaking, mentorship, coaching, and much more. Jeremy played 5 years of professional football in the Arena Football League. With every chance he gets, Jeremy uses his platform as a former professional athlete and now as a professional speaker, educator, and TV sports analyst to speak to as many kids, teenagers, young adults, and even elders as possible. He shares his life, academic, and athletic experiences with them in the hopes that he will encourage them to always keep God first, work hard, and never give up on their dreams. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
What's up, man? How you doing, Mike? Man, appreciate you having me.
I am doing great. I am even better now that you're here with us on the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I love everything about you, Jeremy. I think you are the real deal. And boy, oh boy, do our students need to hear from you more than ever right now. So let's go back to your undergraduate experience, because I see that MTSU helmet in the background. I know you chose MTSU for your undergraduate experience. I do a ton of work at their Center for Health and Human Services at MTSU. So what made you choose MTSU of all places?
Well, my experience, as a high school senior, right? When you're looking at higher education, looking at colleges, obviously you're considering the academic programs and the things that they have to offer. So I knew MTSU offered a great mass comm program. I went to a magnet school in high school, communication, broadcasting, arts. So I knew I wanted to be in TV or radio, do something with speaking. And so I considered MTSU, but I was also being recruited to play football. So when I was looking at different schools, not only had to focus on academics, but I had to also look into the athletic side. And so my last visit was actually Middle Tennessee State University. And when we went there, we were in the academic portion of the visit. And then President Sidney McPhee actually came to the academic portion of the recruiting visit. And that spoke volumes to me, but also to my mom. And I remember after the meeting, she was like, Jeremy, at all the other visits, no president came. And they didn't just come, when we were looking at the jerseys or going in the locker room, but he actually came during the academic portion. So it really said to us that MTSU valued education. Sidney McPhee, the president of the school, valued it. And then with Coach Stockstill actually taking the academic progress rate of MTSU football team from the lowest in the conference all the way to number 1. And they're still, cranking out high graduation rates now. Those were the reasons that I chose MTSU as the academic. And then with football, I wanted to play early, and I didn't want a red shirt. I wanted to be a true freshman, because growing up, that word true freshman was special, and I wanted to experience that. And so I got to do that going to MTSU, got to experience the great academics, and then play early as a true freshman.
I love that story. That's great. And you're absolutely right about Dr. McPhee. I mean, I've never seen any president of any university. I've been
Yeah.
around the block, but
Yeah.
they don't come to those types of meetings, for, potential students or potential athletes. They don't normally show up for that kind of thing. And my son is actually trying to figure out where he wants to go to school. He's a rising senior in high school
Okay.
here in Williamson County, and so he goes to Page High School here locally. And he went to one of these meetings because he's trying to figure out what college do I want to go to, whatever. And it was in Franklin at a hotel in Franklin, not even in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, Dr. McPhee shows up, president of the university, talking to potential parents and potential students, and he's giving away scholarships to MTSU like you wouldn't believe. He's like, here's 1,000, here's 2,000, here's 5,000. And then, the CFO is standing there in the back of the room. He's like, are we going to make any money here at MTSU? Dr. McPhee, you gave away all this scholarship money. But we had a blast. And you know what? And getting to shake Dr. McPhee's hand, and it's just that personal touch that tells you that this is a president who is very invested in his community. He's real. He's out on the front lines, and he's approachable. And that makes all the difference, I think.
Devin, I think that's the one of the biggest things, because as a student, when you're a freshman in college or you're considering, you want to know that the people that'll be teaching you or leading you are relatable. Like, are they even human? Do they go through, or can I have a conversation with them? And still to now, to this day, I go to MTSU. If I see him, I can have a conversation with him. I might be at, because his wife is AKA and she's in the same chapter as my wife is. And so she's talking to Miss McPhee and different things. So like you said, very relatable. And I think that makes you as those that attend MTSU, more willing to go there, because that you have a president that's more relatable.
Yeah, he would take a meeting with you any day of the week. You just name the date and time, and Dr. McPhee would be like, yep, Jeremy's in, bring him in. So, yeah, that's really cool. And not every president does that. So I agree with you there. Now, you're also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I see you wearing your gear today. I love it. I love it. So what made you choose this organization over the others that you could have joined?
Well, for me, if it wasn't Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, it was no other organization. So I joined the fraternity at a later age, where I joined a graduate chapter. I started seeking at 28. Me growing up in Florida, there were not too many HBCUs, South Florida, I should say, and so you have Florida Memorial, the only HBCU down there. And so you didn't really see Greek life a lot. And when I got to college, I wasn't aware of Greek life. And then I met my wife. So she was my girlfriend at the time, and her mom was an AKA. So she grew up in it. And being in Nashville, you got HBCUs, you got Greek life all over, W.I.N and all other Greeks as well. So you kind of introduced in high school. And so learning from her and then seeing my roommates become members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in college really inspired me and sparked the interest into where I started to research, and I started to learn about the great founders and the great members, and then knowing that, okay, you know about Black History Month, but who created it? Carter G. Woodson, a member, right? Then you think about, Charles Drew, the commitment and the impact he made in the medical field. So just really seeing who were members or are members and the impact they made, and wanting to be a part of that and be able to offer my service and offer, my life to a sense to be able to impact those in the community on behalf of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you had that opportunity to join a grad chapter and be part of the Greek movement. I think, it's open to everybody. People come up to me all the time and they're like, man, I didn't join as an undergrad. I'm like, well, it's not too late. I mean, like, if you really want to start this journey, then let's go on this journey together. It's never too late. And I love that, you really understand the meaning behind it and the importance of it. And the fact that you just came back, I know you just came back from Conclave and you got to see that firsthand. I mean, tell our audience what it's like to go to Conclave for the first time.
It's a sea of purple, right? I ran into a lady last night. I was getting some Cracker Barrel, and she said, "You're here?" I was like, I just got back today, right? Because you see on social media the amazing time we setting our hops, we singing songs, we fellowshipping, but it's men of like-mindedness coming together, fellowshipping and networking and getting to know each other and learning more about the fraternity, teaching each other different things. It was just an amazing experience. My first conclave, which I pray of many, first of many. Really enjoyed myself, got to meet childhood friends that we were in third grade together, and now we're members of the same organization. I got to run into one of my roommates that inspired me to become a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So it was amazing. It was amazing. The videos on social media won't do it justice, man. And then
so cool.
I got to meet Ricky Smiley. He took a picture of me and my line brothers Astro van that we rode down there with the lights and the wheels. So we had the most outest vehicle at the conclave.
I love that story. I hope you keep going back every 2 years, man, because man, it just keeps getting better with age. It's like a fine wine, you know. It just
never
keeps
gets
getting
old
better every time. So I'm so happy for you and so happy you had that experience. For me, that's such an important thing to have that experience of going to a conclave of whatever your organization is and spending that fellowship time with your members. Boy, oh boy, is that a great experience. Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I mean, you were a professional football player for many years. You played for the New Orleans Voodoo. You played for the Omaha Nighthawks, the Arizona Rattlers, all as defensive back. You earned the distinction of 2015 Defensive Back of the Year. And in 2013 and 2014, you were Arena Bowl championship teams. So what was that experience like as a professional football player?
Man, it was unreal. It was amazing. It was filled with anxiety because, you know, one thing I realized now looking back at it, I didn't understand anxiety, but, you know, with emotional health and just talking more things, you realize just knowing that your job was on the line every day, not just when you played in the game, but at practice, seeing close friends, they were here today, and then you see them packing up their locker. So dealing with that, but overall, it was amazing. Everything that I wanted to do in my professional career, I was blessed to do it. Now, obviously, I wanted to go play in the NFL. I got an opportunity in 2012 to work out with the Jets. My luggage never made it. I had a pulled hamstring. They called me. They was like, "Are you healthy?" I was like, "Yeah," like, you know, because I'm like, I didn't get an opportunity after college to go to the NFL. So when the Jets came calling after my rookie season in the Arena League, I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity, even though I know I wasn't healthy, because I didn't know when I was going to get another opportunity. But that was a crazy thing. Like I said, my luggage never made it. And if you're a defensive back, if you're a football player, my cleats were in my bag. So to wear new cleats, I had new cleats, had a pulled hamstring. It was just crazy. But, still to this day, I can't say why all of that happened, but I'm thankful for the opportunity. And, you know, I was able to, everything I wanted to do in the NFL, I was blessed to do in the arena. 2 championships. I got to go into a store and see my jersey hanging up in a Phoenix Suns basketball store. I'm at the Phoenix Suns basketball game. They recognized me on the Jumbotron. I got to train with some of the greatest football players to ever play. Jalen Ramsey, Super Bowl champion. Tyrann Mathieu, Super Bowl champion. Patrick Peterson, right? All these guys are on track to have a Hall of Fame career. I was able to compete and train next to them and get to know them. So, and so many others. I got Deion Sanders got to watch me train and had, you know, good words to say, you know, about me. So, you know, when you have experiences like that, you have no regrets. So my experience was great.
That sounds like an awesome experience. Now, you played defensive back, so I'm wondering, in the back of my mind, do you really think you could have played wide receiver too?
So funny story. So I played offense in Little League. And so I used to beg my coaches in high school, man, let me play. And they put me at receiver. And I ran like a slant, and they threw me the ball. And the ball was coming, but I could see and the ball just hit me straight in the chest and popped up. They was like, "All right, Jeremy, out." You know, and that was it. So no, I don't think as far as the route running and focusing on the ball, but I had good hands, right? I caught a lot of interceptions. But when you have to think about who's going to hit you and still focus, that's not for me. It's not for me.
I'm sure every defensive back in the NFL is like, yeah, I could play wide receiver if I had to. I got good hands.
Yeah, we do. We feel like we got good hands, but it's more to that, because as a defensive player, you're doing the hitting, but offense, all 11 eyes are on you, right?
That's right. A totally different thing. All right. So now fast forward. Now you're a high school educator. What's interesting about you is you did these interviews with principals, deans, assistant principals, teachers, and even social workers in the Middle Tennessee area. And you asked each of them 2 questions. The 2 questions you asked them: number one, What do you believe is the greatest hindrance to a student graduating from high school? And question number two that you asked them, what type of program do you believe a school needs that will equip the students and result in them actually graduating? So what did you learn by asking all of these questions?
Gotcha. So what I learned, so the reason why I asked those questions is because every school you have to choose an academic measure. So my academic measure was graduation rate. And so after 1 year, after that, I came back the following year and they informed me, they said, hey, Mr. Kellem, you didn't meet the graduation rate. And so to get a 5, you had to reach like 82% of the scholars had to graduate. And so I took it personal because I was like, I knew the subject I teach, lifetime wellness, directly impacts, I believe, because we help cultivate their social and emotional skills, their character, decision-making, and it directly impacts them graduating, I believe. And so I know in education, what I found out is that we deal with symptoms, right? A kid failing, that's a symptom. A kid not graduating, that's a symptom. A kid skipping class, that's a symptom, right? But I want to know what was the cause, what was the issue of a low graduation rate or a kid not excelling in school. And so the educational stakeholders said motivation. And then I was like, hey, what kind of program do you think scholars need? And they would say one that focuses on social emotional learning skills, focuses on their intangibles, helps them learn how to differentiate between certain relationships and how to make better decisions. And so I learned that kids don't have motivation. Those that don't have motivation probably don't have a vision, right? Because where there's no vision, the people perish. So many scholars, if you ask them, you say, hey, what do you want to do, in 5 to 6 years or what after high school? A lot of them say, I don't know. And a lot of them are the main ones that skipping, not excelling, not coming to class because they don't know where they want to be. But if I can look at the scholars in my class that are excelling, even if they don't have straight A's, but if they're doing well, they come to class every day, and I ask them, they say, well, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I want to be in the medical field. Or I don't know what I want to do, but I want to own a business. Those scholars that have vision normally have motivation because they can see where they want to be. And if we can see where we want to be down the road, then I can come to school and find purpose in every day. And so I created a program that I offer. Like I go to different after school programs, I go to schools, and I even implemented it in the cohort group of students that I had, where I said, okay, to give kids motivation, well, one, they got to join extracurricular activities because whether it's sports, choir, Black Student Union, the grammar club, but scholars that are a part of other clubs, they have greater motivation outside of just getting good grades because they wake up and say, oh, I have a game today. They're excited to get to school. Or, man, we have a choir recital today. And so, and just letting them know that, hey, you have to find other things to do in school that would give you that motivation. And then if you want to go to college, you got to build an academic resume. So just giving them more purposes, more reason to come to school and excel. And so that's what I really learned, that kids lack motivation. And then I said, okay, how can I give them this motivation? And so the program really teaches them. And I had a scholar get in the first quarter, he had a 0.8. And so going through the program, by the third quarter, he was getting a 3.5. This wasn't me tutoring him. I didn't tutor him in math, science. All I did was tap into his soft skills. I tapped into his intangibles. I tapped into his character, and it really allowed him to see and create a vision for himself and find purpose in his life, find purpose in every day coming to school. And you've seen that turn into a higher GPA.
Wow, what a success story. I love your methodology and getting to where you got and then showing the success. Man, oh man, that's a beautiful story. And, even throughout your football career, you would travel, you'd be speaking to students all the time. And after one engagement, you spoke to high school students at a Boys and Girls Club. And then suddenly it just kind of dawned on you that you wanted to be a full-time speaker. What happened there?
Man, so growing up, I grew up in the church, and so my pastor seen something in me, right? So he would have me getting up, speaking, doing different things on youth Sundays, and so I always knew that I had a gift to speak, to talk. And so even when I was in college at FCA, different things, I'm going to schools and speaking, but never thinking, hey, okay, this could be a professional career of mine. This is something I can truly pursue. And so when I went and spoke at that particular event that you're referring to, after I got done, this guy walked up to me. He said, I see your passion. I was like, huh? What are you talking about? He was like, I see your passion. And I'm driving, I left and I'm driving home. And I was like, I kept replaying, I see your passion, I see your passion. And what I learned from that day is the power of speaking life into people, right? Like, if we are honest, we know that we have gifts in us. We may not know, we might be unsure about certain things, but we can feel it bubbling up in us. And sometimes it takes people to speak life into us and cause us to tap into that unrealized potential. And that's what he did for me. And so that's why me as a teacher, as a speaker, every day I know I walk in the classroom, I have an opportunity to speak life into a scholar to help them tap into that unrealized potential. Like, it could be them dressing nice. I'm like, hey man, you got an eye for clothing. Like, you dress nice, and they might be saying, man, Mr. Kellem, I really want to have a clothing line, but I was kind of unsure. But you saying that makes me want to start my business. Things like that, and the power of words. And so that's what happened. And once I went home, I was like, I'm about to pursue this, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Wow, good for you, man. I love that. That's amazing. And, there are some college students who are listening right now that really don't know which direction to go in for their life. And you have this thing, it's called the triple threat formula to figuring out what a student should be doing with their life. What is the triple threat formula?
So the triple threat formula consists of GPP, right? Gift, passion, purpose. And so Tulsa University did a survey, and they said that 80% of college students at least change their major at least one time, right? And so I was included in that when I look back, right? And so I came in and said, hey, I want to be in mass comm. And so when I got into my sophomore year, I'm in the program, and then I took a particular class, and I left for the wrong reasons, right? I said, hey, I got to get out of this class, went to my academic advisor, and she was like, okay, what major are you going to go to, right? So I left mass comm, and I knew that wherever I was going to, there had to be alignment. And so what comes into play is the triple threat. And so I wanted to find a major where my gift can be used, right? So all of us, we have gifts. Maybe we don't know them. So you have to sit down and look, hey, what am I good at? What am I skilled to do? We all are good at something. We may not be the same thing, but we all are good at something. So I knew my gift was, okay, my voice, right? That's one of my gifts, my voice. Mm-hmm. So that's why I went to organizational communication. And I learned about communicating, and it was going to give me opportunities to learn to be in front of people, to become a better orator, a better speaker. And then the passion aspect is you got to figure out, what are you passionate about doing? Like what are you passionate about doing? And I knew that I was passionate about speaking. I was passionate about talking to people. I was passionate about working with the youth, right? And so even when I had to go back to get my master's, I had to choose. Why would I go back and get a master's if I didn't know what I was going to major in? So I thought about my gift. Okay, my gift is my voice. So what major could I get that allowed me to use my voice? Education, right? Teacher. Then I said, okay, I'm passionate about the youth. Well, what major could allow me to use my gift, speaking, and be passionate and give back to the youth? Education, right? And so then you have to find your purpose. Your purpose is, hey, what do I want to be known for in life? What I want to be known for is, I want to be known for the person that goes around and impacts everybody. Well, what job allows me to do that? Becoming an educator. So when I put the gift, right, my voice, my passion for youth, right, and then my purpose to impact, now I'm able to select a major that aligns with that. And so when you have students in college that are trying to choose a major, or might be in the transitional phase of picking another major, don't just pick it because your parents were that, right? Just be, and a lot of times we choose majors because that's what we're familiar with. Well, my mom was a doctor, my dad was an engineer, so I'm gonna choose one of those. No, choose the one that your gifts will be used, right? A lot of times we choose about money. Who pays the most money? I know a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they hate their job because their gifts aren't being used, and it's not a part of their passion, and they don't feel like they're fulfilling their purpose. So I think when you consider that, the gift, the passion, the purpose, the triple threat formula, then it allows you to make a decision at 19, 20 years old about a career, and you still could be doing it 10 or 15 years because your gift and your passion and your purpose is still aligned to you.
Man, I love that formula. I think that's going to be very useful for the students who are listening right now. And let's talk to the athletes for a minute, okay? Why should college athletes conceptualize who they are before they leave college?
Well, so one thing, just doing my research, 2% of student athletes, right, in college go pro, 2%.
Mm.
Now, I was blessed to be a part of that 2%. But either way, whether you're a part of that 2% or not, you're going to get to the end of your playing career sooner than later. And so in college, you're probably done playing, right? 98% of college athletes are done playing by 22 years old. So prior to getting to the end, if you are able to conceptualize and know that who you are aside from what you do, it's going to allow you to make a smoother transition, right? Because a lot of times what I realize is that when we grow up as a kid, we all deal with identity, right? The older we get, our identity adds different layers. So when I started out, I wasn't a husband at first. I had to learn what was my identity as a husband, what was my identity as a father. So those are different layers. But at the core, the foundation, when we're younger, we're figuring out who we are as a person. Well, while we're doing that, we're also doing things. So you might be in the music, you might be in the sports. So you have who you are, but that sport and what you do gets intertwined. And so then you grow up and you say, hey, like, all I know is football. All I know is music. All I know is what it is that I do. And so then as an athlete, you're not going to do that your whole life. So when it's time to separate, I was just listening to Phil Help, the 7-time Olympia, and he said that when he realized he wasn't going to the NBA and he had to stop playing basketball, he went through depression. He suffered from anxiety because he didn't know who he was. And we all experience that separation. And so why it's important to know that, hey, out of who you are stems what you do. So for me, I played football because I was passionate about sports. That's who I am. I'm passionate about sports. So out of that caused me to play football. But when I couldn't play football anymore, I still had the passion for sports. So now out of me, because of who I am and I'm passionate about sports, that's why I call football games, because that's out of who I am. Just because I can't play football anymore doesn't mean I don't have an identity. No, I'm passionate about sports. That's always in me, whether I can play football or not. Now I use that same passion to now call football games. Some people use that same passion for sports to become a coach, to become a trainer, to get into athletic administration. So when we know who we are prior to that sport ending, then we're able to say, okay, my career is over. I had a great career. Or even if you're a little disappointed, hey, I'm not defined by the results of my career. I know who I am. The sport I played is just what I do. That's not who I am. But out of who I am will lead me to what I do next.
Man, I love that. And you can tell who's got a plan and who doesn't have a plan. I mean, you look at a guy like Shaquille O'Neal, right? I mean, let's look at him, another Omega, right? Let's look at that and basically say, I mean, he had a plan. I mean, yeah, he had a certain time in the NBA, certainly made a ton of money, but this guy owns every restaurant, under the sun.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, he had a plan. He had a real plan, and he figured out how I'm going to do this over a lifetime, even though I know that because of his big frame, eventually his body was going to break down.
And for sure. And I was blessed to have a greater grace period, like I said, because I was able to go play pro sports. And so I remember my first year in the UFL, I was in camp and practice was over. And I was walking with a guy, I was like 21 at the time. And he was like probably like early 30s. And I was walking, I was like, man, this is great. I don't have to go to class, no school. I just play football all day. He was like, it's nice, huh? I was like, it is. He was like, but I need you to think about this. He was like, while you're playing, think about what you want to do after.
Yeah.
He was like, many players wait until they're done to start this thing and say, okay, now let me figure. He was like, while you're playing, think about what you want to do so the transition will be easier. And like when you talk about Shaq talks about, hey, while I was playing, I met with Magic Johnson.
Yes.
Telling me, and Shaq had millions of dollars, but he's like, okay, what's my next move, right? And so when you understand that, no matter how much success you have as an athlete, you're gonna be done playing. So now can you maximize your platform to then, transition to what you want to do next? And I think the ones that do that are the ones that are doing great things, like Ryan Clark, that's on ESPN, played the game well, Super Bowl champion, but while he's playing, he was working at ESPN. You know what I mean? And now he has a full-time role on ESPN. So I think just understanding that, hey, your playing career is going to be for a short time. Even if you're Tom Brady already has a mega deal ready. The moment he's done playing, he has a mega deal because he knows I got to set up I'm like, bro, why are you playing this year, Tom Brady? You need to go ahead and just talk on TV. But yeah, man, like you say, having that plan as an athlete to know, at least have an idea of what you want to do when you're done playing will allow your transition. It's still going to be hard because you've done it your whole life, but it'll be easier though, easier.
Yeah, it's hard because, I mean, your whole life you've been playing football ever since you were a kid. I mean, that's part of your identity, and you can't really take that out of you. I mean, football is always going to be a part of you no matter what happens, so I'm glad that you at least have that outlet that you can call football games and still be a part of it, even though you're not playing full time. And so it is really hard, I think, on people, because once they retire or their body breaks down or they get cut or whatever the situation is, however it ends, right? Or you're Super Bowl champion and you just walk off the field as a hero. However that ends, it's hard. The next day is hard because a piece of your identity is no longer there. So that's the hard part. Now, talking about identity, I mean, you and I, we both took an oath to our fraternities. And so I feel like sometimes fraternity and sorority members lose sight of the oath that they took and the service that they agreed to do as a representative of their chosen fraternity or sorority. So what can we do about this?
I think just ensuring that we don't become blinded by I. And when I mean I, the individual, right? We know that becoming a member of any organization, a Greek organization, one thing you have to realize is that you have to die to self. You have to put, what you may want, your perspective, your views to a certain extent. You have to become a whole, one line, right? One unity, become one. And so I think we do that. We make that sacrifice, right, to join the organization. But then once we get what we want, right, and become that member, then we start to once again focus on our own individual selves, right? And so so we become blinded by I, which then could allow us to focus more on ourselves and forget about the oath that we took, right? Which is, hey, this is not just an undergrad commitment. This is a lifelong commitment. And I really see that in my wife, that my wife took her oath in college, right? 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. But she knew when she took it that, hey, this is lifelong. And so she's been an active member ever since, right? So I think that we have to remember our why. Why did you choose to join? Was it surface? Is it just so I can wear the letters? Is it just so I can put on the colors? Is it just so I can be associated with certain people? Is it just so I can party or look cool? Because if it's surface, then you being an active member probably is going to dwindle out. But if you chose for the right reasons and you know that, hey, it's really about community service. It's really about going to make other people's lives better. It's about putting others before you. If you remember that, then I think even because life hits you, you might get married, kids, health issues, and it might knock you out of, people might not see you for a while because you're taking care of, and that's perfectly normal. But you should at some point you have to come back and remember the oath you took and why did I choose to join the organization. I think, and we remember that if we're not blinded by I, the individual, and we remember that it's bigger than ourselves, it's about the fraternity, it's about the oath you took and about service, then I think we can eradicate that issue of people forgetting their oath or joining and then all of a sudden become obsolete.
Yeah, I'll keep it real with you. I mean, NPHC, I think you guys do a much better job of lifetime commitment. I think your wife knew that when she was 19 and she took that oath. And it's just instilled in you that this is a lifetime commitment. I feel like in IFC, in Panhellenic, it's this thing that we do for 4 years. And then as soon as we graduate, we forget about the oath that we took. But we took the same oath. And it's like, what happened? Like, why did you forget about what you just said? Like, when we take an oath, it's got to mean something. And, and I'm guilty of it. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm perfect. I'm not, okay? I made mistakes. I started getting blinded by I when I graduated. I wanted to build a career. I wanted to make a lot of money, have a big house, have a beautiful spouse, have kids, all these things, right? I wanted, but then I forgot about the oath that I made to the organization. And it wasn't until, 10 or 15 years later that I started coming back to volunteer for the fraternity, and then eventually served as the executive director of the fraternity. But there was a good, 10, 15 year period. Nobody knew where I was, but I was blinded by I. That's what it was.
Gotcha. Definitely. And I think, because it's when, like I look at myself, right, and I can understand, as far as like, because I joined at a later age, right? So I came in at a different point in my life, a different perspective. And so my perspective is a little different, but I understand because I remember when I was in college, and I remember, my mindset. And then when I got out of college, what my focus was on. Hey, man, I'm trying to get a career going. I'm trying to, start a family. I'm trying to get married, all of that. So you focusing on different things. So that's, perfectly normal. And because life happens to us all, but a great job by you, you remembered though.
Yeah, I did remember.
The thing, right? You remember. And that's why, whether you join at undergrad or graduate, life happens, but we have to always come back to a point where we remember the oath and remember why, and we get back and remember it's about that service. Definitely, I think that's key.
Never too late to come back. I always remember the oath that I took, and I knew at some point I would come back. And I'm sure glad that I did, because now I get an opportunity to give back to the other students and remind them of why they joined their organization, and remind them of the oath that they took, even if it was only a year ago or 2 years ago. You're like, remember what you said? You remember that? I remember it. So we have some of those fun conversations. So that's really good.
For sure.
Now, you and I are both in Middle Tennessee. I know that we both love good food here. I can tell right away, good food. And so where should I go if I'm in Nashville, let's say, or even Murfreesboro? I don't know, whatever, anywhere in Middle Tennessee. Where should I go to get a great meal?
Well, I think for me, man, Slim and Huskies, if you're a pizza person, Slim and Huskies, you got one in Antioch, I believe. I don't know the direct location in Nashville, but then you got one on 5th and Broad, the new area that they put down there by the African American Museum. They got that down there. Then Monell's, right? You never go wrong with Monell's. They have 2 locations, but like the mansion location is by the airport. It's kind of like a Thanksgiving style, and I'm talking about, you be with strangers and you just passing around. Can I get the mac? Can I get the mac and cheese? Can I get the cranberry? Can I get the chicken? All of that, man. So I think those 2 places, Slim and Husky and Monell's, is can't miss, man.
All right, I'm going to take you up on Monell's, because that sounds like very authentic. That's the experience that I want. You start talking to me about pizza, you got to understand, I was born in Manhattan, New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I can't eat pizza in Middle Tennessee, because I know the truth. The truth. The truth is that's an imposter. You got to go to New York City if you want real pizza.
It's kind of like talking about Philly cheesesteak, somebody out of Philly, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you want a Philly cheesesteak, you go to Philadelphia and you get a Philly cheesesteak. But outside of it, it's just an imposter to try to make you feel better. It's not a real Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, I gotta visit New York. I haven't visited. I got a good friend up there. I gotta visit up there, man, and try to piece and see what you're talking about.
My God, you will try it. You'll be like, I'm sorry, I recommended Slim and Huskies. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm gonna atone for my mistakes.
But you gotta, so we gotta make a deal. You gotta try Slim Huskies.
Yes.
And New York, I gotta try the New York piece or Manhattan.
There you go. That's a fair deal. I could definitely do that. But once you have it, you'll be like, all right, now, but I see Mike was right, because it's not the same. It's just not.
I hear you. Definitely. I hear you.
All right. So I'm sure that our listeners absolutely love this interview, because you, Jeremy, are a very likable guy, and you can definitely talk the talk. I mean, you are out there, you're a great speaker. So if our college students, listeners, if they want to bring you in to speak on their college campus, where should they go to connect with you?
Well, they got, 3 different ways. They can go to my website, jeremykellem.com, which they'll probably find my name on here, but jeremykellem.com. There's a booking tab or location on the website where they can type in the information, what type of, the topic, the location, different things like that. They can do that. They can email me at weimpactnow@gmail.com, or they can also, simply DM me on Instagram on IG, JK_impacts. So JK_impact. So those are 3 different ways that they can reach out to me for bookings and just find out more information about me and, how they can bring me to their school.
You're the real deal. I love it. The website is jeremykellem.com. That's spelled JEREMYKELLEM.com. Go and check it out. Book Jeremy to come and speak on your campus. Boy, he is the real deal. And so I am so happy that we got a chance to connect here on the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And thank you, Jeremy, for sharing your wisdom with all of our listeners.
Man, thank you so much, Mike, man, for having me, man. And I truly enjoyed it. I had so much fun and really appreciate this opportunity, man.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always here for you. And to our listeners, make sure you like this interview on social media. Make sure you share it on social media with your other fraternity and sorority members on campus, other college students that need to hear Jeremy's words of wisdom, maybe even an athlete that could benefit from some of this discussion. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we're going to see you next time.